We've got a great chat ahead of us here. Joining us now is Russian-born former U.S. intelligence officer and author of American Bolsheviks, The Persecution of Donald Trump and the Sovietization of America, along with the book Putin's Playbook, Rebecca Koffler. Rebecca, thank you so much for coming on the program tonight. It's a real honor to have you here. And you've got a unique biography that I think gives you a unique perspective. Tell us, you were born in Russia, made it to the West, worked for U.S. intelligence. How does this happen?
Well, my mother and father didn't agree with the Soviet socialist system, but they also knew that they couldn't change it. So my mom, ever since I was a little girl, she would always say, one day you will go to America. I didn't understand, why I was supposed to go to America, when that would happen, but I did everything my mother told me, which was learn English. I graduated high school with a gold medal, and then I went to Moscow and I was accepted to one of the top universities for foreign languages. And I perfected my English, and that's where I met also some of my American friends who eventually helped me get out of Russia, and I came to America. And at first I worked in business and in the satellite industry, but after September the 11th, I felt like I needed to contribute to the security of my adopted homeland, and I joined the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is the military counterpart to the CIA.
Wow, fascinating. So this is an incredible perspective here that you've got, because you've written about the basically the way they've installed Kamala Harris without any scrutiny to replace her with Joe Biden as the candidate. You've written that this whole affair had a bit of the vibe of in 1964 when Khrushchev got eased out for Brezhnev. Tell us a bit about why what the Democrats are doing today reminds you of what the Soviets used to do in the bad old days.
Sure. Well, you're being too kind, James. Eased out is a very mild way of saying it. Khrushchev was basically ousted. He was removed in a secret vote by a few members of the Central Committee of the Communist Party after 10 years in power. And Brezhnev, his successor, was installed. And there was no process. It was just, it just happened. And in a similar way, Kamala Harris, who never participated in the primaries, didn't win a single vote, was just simply replaced Joe Biden. Joe Biden was given the boot practically in the same manner that Khrushchev was given the boot. And Kamala Harris, in this electronic call, which is unprecedented in American history, a roll call was performed where she won 99% of delegates. This is the type of votes that the Soviet premiers got when I was growing up in the Soviet Union. The approval rating never got below 99%. I mean, this is a joke. It was basically orchestrated by the powers that be, who seem to have borrowed a page out of Soviet playbook.
And isn't it amazing to me? It does sound very Soviet when you put it in those terms. For months, if not years, we had everybody on the Democrat side say, no, Joe Biden is perfectly fine. He's sharp as a tack behind closed doors. And then suddenly they said, Joe Biden has to go. He's terrible. We've known it all along. And now meet your new candidate, Kamala Harris. And the thing that struck me was the way the convention there, I know every convention is a political rally, but the way the convention there had that real sort of totalitarian feel to it. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. It actually reminded me of the Communist Party Congress that took place every 5 years, where it was just a big, circus. What the Soviets did, they would always, run these congresses on both of the two channels. We had two TV channels, right, which was state TV. And they would always denigrate capitalism and glamorize socialism. But the Soviet people people knew that every time they go to the store, there's 3 things on the shelf on a good day: milk, bread, and some sausage. Well, the same thing with the DNC convention. They were talking about joy, right? This is the party of joy, quote unquote. But there were anti-Israeli and pro-Palestinian lunatics burning the American flag and wreaking havoc. They were talking about, common sense and normalcy, and calling the Republicans, J.D. Vance, weird, as though it's not they who are telling the kids that they can identify as anything they want, as a furry animal, as a season, as though it's not the Democrats who advocate chemical castration of the kids and doing all sorts of other nonsense. It's bizarre.
Well, it's, but it's not just, all the crazy, weird things like, those issues. And they had a vasectomy van out the front of the DNC, which just seemed to be absolutely bizarre to me, but also just, acting like the last 3.5 years of the Biden administration never happened. So they're saying, basically, vote for change. We'll fix everything that we've screwed up over the last 3.5 years. Again, this is kind of Soviet gaslighting.
Absolutely. When I was at DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, we called these types of things self-licking cone, right? The Biden administration ruined everything, turned America upside down, let millions and millions of illegal migrants who are now wreaking havoc. I don't know if you guys are following what's going on in Colorado, where a transnational Venezuelan gang is basically taking over apartment complexes, terrorizing people. So they ruined everything, and here comes Kamala, who's supposed to fix everything. But isn't she the one who was part of the team that is driving America to the ground, whether it's with socialist policies such as setting price controls, or even Putin no longer promotes socialism because it's a socialism that destroyed the USSR. I mean, I've seen this movie before, and the end is not pretty. If this continues in the same, go ahead.
Well, so Rebecca, this is my next question. You've led right into it here. The U.S. is still obviously a long way from the USSR, but, when I go back, and I'm sure you see there are things in American society, a sort of Soviet sclerosis that does sort of feel a little bit familiar with some of that. How does America pull away from this course before it ends in totalitarianism and decay?
Well, first of all, Americans must elect common sense leaders who put America's security first and who don't promote depopulation through abortion. And it's basically common sense. But you're saying we're a long way from it. But look at it this way. Everything that I saw in Soviet Russia, I see today. There's censorship. You talked in the previous segment about Mark Zuckerberg, the Facebook CEO, admitting that he basically was colluding with the White House, suppressing information about Hunter Biden, about COVID. I mean, effectively, this is election interference, right? Criminalizing political opponents. Look at what they are doing with Trump. The deep state is going after former President Trump the way that Putin goes after his opponents. I mean, Putin is the one who poisons, people like Navalny who dare to stand up to him. And this is what's going on right now. They're going after religious people, after conservatives. We can no longer say what we think and what we write. We're concerned that we will be targeted. Parents are targeted as domestic terrorists, and all they want is to have control over what the schools are teaching.
Rebecca, we're going to have to leave it there. Fantastic, fascinating, and scary stuff. Really appreciate your time tonight.